after this body finishes, I exist beyond the limits of time and space. I, being of light, have a form that is infinitesimal, just everything contained within a point. I, the point of light, am immortal. In this awareness of eternity, of going beyond the limits of time and distance, I'm able to have a glimpse of truth, that which is reality, that which is unchangeable, that which is the constant anchor of the universe. I stay in this awareness of I, the being of light, and touch truth itself.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. I haven't tested it out for quite a while. Hopefully this will work.
Om Shanti.
Shanti.
Good evening. Welcome. Welcome again. I think both of you have come before. And of course, where is Anjana ji?
She's not very good.
She's not very good. Anyways, her best wishes so that she feels well. So in the past little while, we have tried to explore into the science of all this, the science of meditation. I do remember we had done this in the past too, but last year, I think in winter, was the first time when Debbie had attended with her husband. I remember they were sitting right there in the second last row, and I remember her face still like this. You were so. Yeah.
I remember you said to me, you don't have to stare. You can, in meditation, you could look around.
Yeah, and it was so nice the way you were absorbing it. And I know the science of all this is really intriguing, and there's a lot to learn from this. And this, in the past couple of times, we have also explored some very different topics. One was, well, we had done few sessions on overcoming fear, 1 and 2, and something else. And then last time we did about death. And that was an interesting one, right? It somehow just came out, right? Because in the spiritual passage that we read every day, in the last few, there was this conversation about how we need to, just like we practice everything in life, and something which is so inevitable as death needs to be practiced too, right? In other words, we all try to aim for a happy life, but do we do anything to have a happy end of life? Back in India, when we used to travel in trains, and getting in and out of Indian trains can be quite chaotic. You should come once to see. It's interesting times when, like Japan, also they say in Japan when the people are trying to get into trains, there are people to stand like real wrestlers type of thing to just push them in. Otherwise, the doors won't close. Otherwise, the trains won't leave. So that kind of thing. But in India, it's like even before you have reached that destination, you kind of start preparing. So you take your suitcases out, which you in India you travel heavy, and you carry your own suitcase. Like in trains in New York City, right? You carry your own trains with suitcases. So you try to move your way towards the door, because if you don't, the train will leave that. So in other words, you prepare for that end of the journey, even though you are in your journey. We are on a journey. Life is a journey. And inevitably, like it or not, you are going to reach the destination. Destination is moving on to another body, however you want to look at it. I don't want to make it into too much of a religious thing that some people think of moving on to a new life, some people think of life after life, afterlife. Concepts are numerous, and whatever, if you think you're going to go back to heaven or go back up or down or wherever, that's where, but you have to, something has to happen. I leave that to you to decide for yourself where you want to go, but you have to go. So we have to prepare for that, and then this whole session, the reason is myself, there has been at least even before I started this meditation, there have been a lot of experiences for me, and then during these 18 years, I have really thought of it deeply, really spent a lot of time researching into this, reading, talking to senior yogis for years, and then trying to decipher this whole thing for myself. I'll take you back into a little bit of history. I remember that before I came to this and I was in medical school, I've had a lot of very interesting experiences. One of which was I had cerebral malaria twice, and one in childhood I had that status asthmaticus. If people are aware, you just end up with an unrelenting asthma, and they pronounced me sort of dead that time. But then I had these two situations. Are you struggling with that? Is it not working?
No, I'm.
Okay. Okay. And so there was this cerebral malaria. If you understand what is it, what that is, there are different types of malarias. There's falciparum vivax, falciparum. Uh, no, I can't remember. See, I'm losing all this microbiology because we don't use that
I
much.
think it's falciparum. It's a falciparum, and the other one is malignant falciparum ovale.
Oh, wait, okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. So then, in that, this is an endemic place where even WHO has its center in India, because that's one place where the largest number of cerebral malaria cases happen. And mine was really particularly very bad, and so they had to put me on quinine, and quinine sort of coma got induced. And I remember the time when I lost my vision, sort of lost my hearing. I was in coma sort of state, and that happened twice. But then the second time they knew that the dose was too high, so thankfully they didn't give me that much. But I remember at that time there was this feeling of a very strange feeling, like a feeling of it was pretty much that time, or even before that, there were several other situations where I had this feeling of multi-dimensionality of my existence. It's something I don't know how to explain it, how I felt at that time, but now I can understand it. But at that time, I didn't really get it. But it was almost like when I was having that feeling that I can't see, it was almost like a tunnel vision, and I just could barely see. So it felt as if whatever I'm seeing is very far away, that that person is right in front of me. But it was almost as if I was also, it was very near. It was almost as if this is this dark room inside my head, and the distance between the person whom I'm seeing and me is few millimeters. But yet, when I'm trying to see, it feels as if the person is just very, very far. Similarly, I couldn't hear, and so there would be some tiny words like, and it would be like from a very far distance, but yet happening right here in my head, just few millimeters. So that multi-dimensionality, that's making sense. I started having that experience, and I knew there's something more to all of this. And but anyways, more things happened, and there was one time I was riding my bike and had a very bad accident where um, at the impact was so bad that this helmet split into two. But interestingly, nothing happened to me. It was at that moment as it was happening. It almost felt like suddenly I'm gone into a dreamlike state, and almost as if there was not necessarily. I don't know. I don't think I had any of these leaving my body experiences, but it was like as if some angel, some force came to protect me, and it was like something that that though I had that impact, it was as if it was in the physical world there's an impact, but there's in the different dimension, as if there was something protecting me. I don't know how to explain that right now. Yeah, you want to say something?
I was just thinking, you said, was it like slow motion?
Almost like slow motion, maybe, right?
Yeah.
A slow motion, maybe many people have had that experience too. It's like you see it in slow motion nowadays in movies too, right? Like impact, but it's almost like that. And then there was this, like in a darkened space, but there is a different, totally parallel dimension, but where things are coming to protect me. And then, go ahead.
I was in a car accident, and before we hit, everything went in slow motion. I saw the car going across, and then we came.
Yeah.
Went into slow motion, and when we hit and everything.
Right.
It's the only time I remember that.
Yeah.
But
So something like that. And then they were taking me into the ER for CT scan of the head and sort of, and all throughout it was like I'm not in the body, not in that space. I'm in a different dimension, kind of thing, but not really an outer body experience like that. But then when I started doing the meditation practice, there was a lot of this kind of learning experience. Raj Yoga is filled with a lot of these things, that we can understand. And so, in the past little while, I have tried to look at specifically this near death experience. So, let me go through in the beginning what people have experienced when they talk about near death experience. So, near death experience is not really when, say, somebody had a major illness and they felt sick and they got recovered, or even an accident, something happened and they recovered. They could be very close to death and they recovered. That, in a way, people may call it as a near death experience. But it's not, that's not what this is all about. This is about an actual experience of dying, but not really dying. Yeah. So I first, what I want to do is to, I hope to be able to get this going. It's a brand new presentation, so you all are the guinea pigs. I haven't presented in this format ever before, and, and I'm not sure. Yes, now hopefully it will show. Alright, let me see if I can change the settings. Yeah, something's happening. So I have no clue. It's small, but at least something's better than nothing. Alright. I'm not sure how to get rid of this. So, in the last few decades, a lot has happened in the research for near-death experiences. There's a psychiatrist by the name of Raymond Moody who did a lot of research. This is nothing new. A lot of people have talked about it. There are countless stories, countless experiences of people who have had this. And so these are some of the experiences that people have had. And I'll just share this with you. And then I'll talk about each of these from a meditation point of view. So, enveloped by light, people experience total acceptance and unconditional love and have access to deep knowledge and wisdom with indescribable clarity and insight. See, what I'm going to tell you today, it will almost feel as if you would wish you had an NDE, wish you have one soon. It's that beautiful. Enveloped by light, people experience total acceptance and unconditional love and have access to a deep knowledge and wisdom with indescribable clarity and insight. This from the book Consciousness from Beyond Life. And some people have described this as a pinnacle of everything there is, of energy, of love, especially of warmth, of beauty. That it seemed as if time and distance didn't exist. I was everywhere at once, and sometimes my attention focused on something, and I was there too. Then there is this neurosurgeon, he was a doctor himself, and he describes I was encountering the reality of a world of consciousness that existed completely free of the limitations of my physical brain. My experience showed me that the depth of the body and brain are not the depth of consciousness. So, this brings us to this very important understanding where near death experiences have been described, where the patient's heart completely stopped. So, there's no blood going to the brain. Brain activity has completely stopped. And that's when they had that experience. See, I want to clarify a little bit. You have medicine background, right? You're a nurse, right? You too? You too? Okay, yeah. So brain dead really doesn't mean dead, totally, in a way, because that's when the organs are harvested. Right? They're dead. Patients are dead, but not totally dead. If the organs are good, that can be taken and given to other people. But for all practical purposes, that's considered death. But now, if there is heart has stopped working, there's no respiration, there is no circulation of blood, no new oxygen or sugar or any nutrients going to the brain stops working, totally stops working. There are flow studies of the brain. There's zero flow to the brain. Many times in brain dead patients, even though the heart is working, even then there is no flow. So in those situations, particular person is having a surgery, a very normal surgery, where you wouldn't expect the person to die, and suddenly in the middle of the surgery, something goes wrong and there's a cardiac arrest. The surgeon is trying to resuscitate, the anesthesiologist, everybody's trying to resuscitate, do everything they can. And after a little bit of time, they find that nothing is happening, there's no activity, nothing. They call it quits. But then, as the surgeon is coming out of the operating room, the patient's wife is there. The wife is saying that, um, go back into the operating room. My husband is not dead. The the doctor has not told the wife that this happened in the operating room. He said, no, go back, go back. My husband just told me that he's not dead. So the surgeon looks at the wife and like, what's going on? Inside, still agrees to go. Goes inside, and again they start resuscitating, and the patient comes back. So later, the person is asked, what really happened? I said, I could see myself floating up here. I could see all of you, whatever you were doing, and you were trying to pump my chest and do all this. And I tried to come and tell you that I'm alive. You don't stop. Keep doing what you're doing. And you wouldn't listen to me. So I went out to the waiting area. I met my wife and I told her. She believed me. She listened to me. I could talk to her. And so she came to tell you. Interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's another story of a person who, on a hospital floor, a floor, any floor, had a cardiac arrest, and they're trying to do all this, and then eventually comes back, and so when he comes back and he's recovered, and so he is now chatting with the nurse, and the nurse says he's still not ready to leave the hospital. He was brought in a very fragile condition. Anyways, he says, I felt I left the body and I went out there, and on your another floor, on the ledge out there, there is a red shoe. The nurse didn't take any heed of that, and the nurse goes about her activities. Too many things to do, right, for nurses, anyways, rather than thinking about red shoe, one red shoe, two red shoes, maybe we can do something about it. Who cares about one red shoe on a ledge somewhere? So she goes to another floor because sometimes nurses get rotated, they have to go to different floors. Goes there and she looks out of the window. And actually, when she looks out of the window, when the patient says she couldn't see anything, she dismissed it as. Then it's almost like you feel the goosebumps happening. She looks out and she sees that red shoe in the air. How could the patient have seen that? There are numerous situations where they have, in one another, the patient said that as I left the body, I actually saw that the doctor had a lot of extra things in his pockets. He had a granola bar, he had some post-it notes, he had this. And the surgeon is like, how did you know that it's going there? How would you know? Interesting things like this, where in a car accident, the person is really not dead but goes to a different place, sees his friends and family. The person so far away know exactly what is happening there, can see everything, know everything. Another story of this person who says that I was up there just above the house and I could see all of you crying, and I'm trying to tell you stop crying, I'm still alive. And you wouldn't listen to me, and I come back and he knew exactly what everybody is saying and all the conversations. Ed were with him. That's how the people have shared. So this is one aspect of it, that to be able to see far beyond normally we would be able to see. So this outer body experience probably is kind of true. Then there is this one story which you have heard about, and I've shared about this previously too, of an Indian lady who lived in Singapore, Anita Moorchandani. She has become a celebrity in a way that she goes around giving TED talks. So she wrote a book, um, very beautiful, uh, Dying to Be Me.
Oh,
listened to her TED talk. So the way it all happened is she. Did I share this previously? Do you remember? No. So she had lymphoma, and that lymphoma gotten real bad from her this place to down. Her lymph nodes had become like golf balls, and some places almost like tennis balls. In her entire breathing, her kidneys, pretty much everything. So she had to put on life support, intubated. And then there was a moment when everybody said she's dead. She had gone into like a brain dead situation, like her heart had stopped responding. And but she describes that she knew everything. She could see the doctor coming in, the doctor telling the family that she won't survive, she won't have any, doesn't have any hopes. And then her family members then calling her brother who's in a different place, and she sees herself rising up, the body there, and then she sees her brother coming from another place, taking the flight, all of that. She remembered words or conversations that people had, her family members, it verbatim. She's there on the ventilator. And then she describes how she has that feeling that her body has stopped responding to all things. This flatlined, completely flatlined. They pronounce her dead. She sees all that, but then she sees herself rising into an experience of light, profound light, beautiful light, and she's rising into it, and then she still doesn't get it or something at that moment, but she said, but what would you like to do? She says something, I didn't want to go back. And then there is this intense energy that she begins to experience, and she comes back into the body. Her heart starts to do its work, and she comes back. The doctors realize that, they do what is needed. Within a day, starts recovering. All her systems begin to work again, and she gets extubated. She recovers. Her cancer disappears. And her lymphoma, which was end-stage lymphoma, nothing to do more than that. Now, I don't know what, 10, 20 years after that, she's traveling the world giving lectures. So, total healing experience. Some people have described that when they go, they have this panoramic view of their entire life. They see their entire life of all those things that they have done throughout their life, almost coming at the same time. There's no past, present, or future. Everything just mixing into one.
And the expression, seeing your life flash before your eyes.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. That's how.
People have said that many times after your death.
Right.
I saw my life flash before.
Yes, all the good things, all the bad things, and in a way, in a non-judgmental way, you can see that. And some people have been able to see afterlife, that what will they go and be born as. Some people have described what they were born as previously, and which we did last time, regression and regression studies and things like that, hypnosis that they do, and so people have talked about that. So multiple different things, and clearly there's something to it, right? Something to it. Most people who have come back after that experience say that they have they now seem to truly understand what life is about. That there is some deep they have received. And you will see that clearly they will be much more peaceful, much more in sync with themselves, sync with everything. Something's good happening there in this whole thing. And it's not just something, but profound goodness. If your end stage cancer gets cured, if you develop very deep insights, very deep wisdom, if you begin to truly understand what life is all about, become a better human being, period. There's not a single person who has not said that I have not become a better human being. And not one experience where family members have said, no, that person is still a mess. Right? So this near-death experiences does great things.
Sometimes people, when they come back, of course, when they go, they feel very light, and then when they come back, they feel this heaviness.
Beautiful, yes. Yeah, I'm going to talk about all that also. But yeah, heaviness. Some people have described that like as if they're coming back to this body, and it's like this boom, like hitting your body, and this pain and things like that. And some people didn't want to come back, but they had to come back. Some people wanted to come back and they came back. It's several different things that happen, but it's eventually it only leads to good things. Not a single near-death experience that people have described about. They um, they feel that they want to stay into that space of light, of that overwhelming love and peace that they experience, total acceptance that they feel at that time. So that is so beautiful an experience that they want to stay there and almost don't want to come back. So now, doesn't that sound like a great thing to be? A great thing to happen? Do you want to have a near-death experience? Oh, yes, right? So there is a way actually, there's a shortcut to it. And I can teach you today. Let's listen to this more. So there's another person who had so the glorious truth of truths that lives and breathes at the core of everything that exists or that will ever exist. And no remotely accurate understanding of who and what we are can be achieved by anyone who does not know it and embody it in all of their actions. There's somebody who had that experience. So, anyways, so here I've put a list of the commonalities of these experiences and what this really means. As I had shared in the beginning, clearly we are living into quantum physics or understanding what you're going to multi-universe concepts, which now they are talking about what multi universe means. They thought that one universe that has everything, all the galaxies. So see, this is the solar system. Earlier we thought that this is the planet Earth, and everything rotates or revolves around the Earth. Then we realized that actually it's the sun, and we revolve around the sun. So there's this solar system, but we realized that this is not one solar system. There are infinite solar systems, infinite galaxies. This whole thing. So we are learning much more. And but we always thought that there's only one universe. That's why universe. But actually now they are even finding that thinking that there are multiple universes. So multiverse. But if you don't want to go into that, even in your day-to-day life, if you think your existence is multidimensional, and I can prove it to you how it is. Even like say if you are right now here, everything that you do everything, all the life that you live, your family, they're also existing, right? There's this parallel things happening. You're sitting here, but your existence is happening there too. People are, you're a wife at the same time, you're a husband at the same time, you are a school teacher, you're a nurse, you are an architect, you are a cook, everything at the same time. So it's not that right now you're sitting here, so everything of that is dead. No? That's also happening in a parallel fashion. You come home to cook food, so you're a cook. You go to the garden and do gardening, you're a gardener. But you still are nurse. The nursing thing is also happening in the background. That existence is also happening. So we are having this multidimensional existence. But also to understand that there is this physical dimension, right, where we see everything, we touch, we hear. But there is this non physical dimension of our existence, metaphysical feeling, the consciousness. Where is this consciousness happening? Where is the knowing happening? Where is the knowing of the seeing happening? Where is the knowing of the hearing happening? Up till now, we always thought it is at the brain level, the physical brain. Now we're realizing it's not. Those people's brain had totally stopped working, but they still had experiences.
In mind.
Yeah. So where is the mind? Which dimension is the mind?
The soul.
The soul dimension. So this dimension is clearly not the physical dimension. Can you see the soul? Can you hear the soul? Can you touch the soul? Can you taste the soul? No. So that, but the soul is that mind. You're thinking, right? You, even if your brain is dead, you can think because your soul, right? You see, those people clearly showed us with these near-death experiences. So mind is happening parallel to the brain. So there's a different dimension clearly right there. Now in science they're talking about 10 dimensions. You know, one you can. It's just mind-boggling. I don't need to go in too much into it, but one dimension is this length. That's the linear thinking. Two dimension is the square quadrangular thinking. The three dimension is the box thinking. And in the box, when you put time into it, becomes the fourth dimension. Like this chair, this is three-dimensional thing. If I'm sitting on it right now, I get up, somebody else sits on it. What happens to this space over time is the fourth dimension. So four dimensions are clearly here. But then there is this numerous other dimensions of consciousness, thinking. You can think in different planes actually at the same time in a parallel fashion. So a lot of things are happening. So I want you to understand this thing about this multidimensional experience of our existence. So as you understand this, what Raj Yoga does is helps you clarify this a lot. And the crux of Raj Yoga is that you are this body. This body has a name. This body has a gender. This body has relationships. This body has possessions. This body has needs of food, of water, of multiple other things in this physical world. There is time, there is length, there is weight, there is height, there is depth, there's all these things. There's smell, there's touch, there's looking at things, there's listening to things, all these things happening in this dimension. But now, even if you look at this, I have shared this many times, we both could be looking at the same thing, but we could be seeing totally different things. Agreed? So, where is the seeing happening? Both could be listening to the same thing, but we could be hearing different things.
Perceptions.
Yeah, but where are these perceptions happening? Where can you? Oh, this is the perception. Like a fly, you catch it. No, you can't. This is my seeing. Yes, looking you can identify. We're both looking at this thing, this cell phone, this thing. But seeing, where is my seeing, your seeing, my hearing, your hearing? Where is that? That's that dimension.
Hmm.
Huh? That makes sense.
Hmm.
So you are a soul. This is an understanding that Raj Yoga helps us understand. That we are not this physical existence. There is this physicality of our existence, but that's not who really we are. We are the soul, the life energy, the force. Now, if you look at these from this perspective, so one commonality was this feeling of overwhelming love. Don't we want love in our lives? But what happens? Do we really experience love? Are we really able to give love? Because in this physical dimension, this there are limited resources. There's limited time. There's limited money. Right? If you want to buy flowers for someone, you can only buy so much, right? Even the richest person will have to stop at some point. I love this person so much, but you know what? I'm going to only stop at $10,000 worth of flowers, right? So there's only so much you can give. You know, how much hugs can you give? How many kisses that you can give to someone? It's just there's only so much that you can do. That love becomes very limited. In the physical world, everything is limited. As soon as you step out of this dimension into this dimension, everything becomes unlimited. There's no limit. Because in this dimension, there is no height, no length, no depth, no time. There's total timelessness. Now, I know sometimes these things seem like out of the world, but think of it, and it's really out of the world, but think of it in your mind. Some experience happened 10 years back. Think it right now. Doesn't it feel like yesterday?
Maybe a little longer.
Maybe
Yesterday.
day before yesterday.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah? Alright. So sometimes something happened yesterday and it feels as if it happened 10 years back. See how time in that dimension, when it's perception, doesn't really work the way we would think it to work in this dimension. What quantum physics is talking about clearly is that when they went into trying to go into the smallest particles, like say this again, and many times when we say this, it really doesn't go home. So hopefully this will go home with each time I say this. So we look at everything. I'm looking at this thing, this thing. So it seems like a solid structure, right? Solid. Everybody agrees it's solid.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go deep into it. They realize that it is made up of molecules working together with electrostatic forces and things like that. They go deeper into the molecules. They're made up of atoms. They go deeper into the atoms. They're made up of particles called as protons, neutrons, electrons. And then they found subprotonic things or whatever. But they found that the distance between the molecules, this is one molecule, this is one molecule, is huge. The molecule itself is this tiny, but the space is huge between if you go with a microscope. Then they go into that molecule, the subatomic or the atomic particles, the atoms. There's the distance between each atom is huge. The atom is only this one. They go into the atom, they find that the subatomic particles are this tiny and the distance between them is huge. So if you're looking at this, what they've realized there is 99.99999999999. Keep going till whatever you till you get tired. That much is air. That much is a space. And 0.0000, keep saying it till you get tired. 1 is actually the particle. There's nothing really here. What you're seeing is the perception that you're getting is it's a solid object, but it's really nothing. Then they even realized that these subatomic particles actually don't even exist. They come in and out of existence as if there is a different dimension that they go into, hide. So you can't see them, and they come back and you see them. But you see them only when you are trying to see them. And when you don't try to see them, they actually disappear. Where do they disappear? So when they try to understand this, they realize that actually that particle also doesn't exist. The smallest particle that you were thinking, so molecule, atom, proton, neutron, and subprotonic particles, they also don't exist. That's actually just information. It's just information. Potentiality is the word that they use.
Potentiality.
Yeah.
But they're also moving and vibrating, like
Yeah.
frequencies.
So that's the information that's vibrating. And depending on how you want to perceive it, that information manifests for you.
Wow.
It's pretty wild.
That's right, that's right. You see, but what it tells us that at the core of everything that you're seeing physical, there's nothing physical.
It's all an illusion. We were talking about that on the way over.
So really, it's all an illusion. Anyways. And so if you look at from this dimension, body, soul, what is the soul? In this dimension, there's nothing physical. What is soul? Is there, oh, I got the soul. Let me not, let me bring a small thing, so let me put it in. There's nothing, so you can't catch it. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. You can experience it in your mind, in your thoughts, in that dimension. You can't touch it. What is that soul? It's nothing but information and pure potentiality. That's it.
Is it light?
It's light.
It's energy.
It's energy.
It's a form of
Energy. It's just information. Information all connected together. And it's, in a way, let me explain to you. I know this seems strange, and I don't want to go into that too much because I want to stay here. But it's like I've shared this in the past. Like if you take light and like a flashlight and you do it like this, any formation multiple times very fast, it seems like there's a structure. But is there a structure? No. It's just this light going on. And that all of these informations, pockets of informations, they're vibrating so fast that it makes us feel, give us an illusion of this. But there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
What about its function?
It's all an illusion. Because you want it to function like that, so it appears to you that it's functioning like
I
that.
see.
And it's not really that. You see?
It's our desire to have it be that creates
that.
Yes.
Super. Yes, that's exactly how it is. So now when you look at from the soul world, it's just from the soul consciousness, from that you are a soul. It's just pure potentiality. And infinite in every aspect you can think.
Is that why the idea of you can manifest anything you want comes from?
Yeah. In the physical world, you can't do anything. Right? You can't wake up in the morning, you can't go to bed when you need to get up, you can't control your hunger, you can't control your thirst, you can't control all your crazy desires. There's nothing that you can do. And the moment you step into this, you enter into what is called as infinite potentiality. That you can do anything you want. So this person, think of it, left the body. Now this is there's a lot of different words that they say they call as transpersonal experiences, where you leave your body. And I'll share that in actually there's an imagery, guided imagery, which we call as transpersonal imagery. Not me, but in psychiatry, psychology, they talk about that. But they also call it as autoscopy, seeing the self. There's a term, another term, heteroscopy, and there's another called as, I can't remember. And true outer body experience is something which these people, all of them, I was going to put that at the end, I didn't have a chance, I forgot. So all of them describe of an outer body experience, that they left their body into a different dimension, and that people couldn't see them, people couldn't touch them, people couldn't hear them, but they could hear things, they could know things. It's like there is a glass here, and you're standing behind it. Like when you go to Kroger and Walmart and all that, there's a security people sitting, and they have this glass that is only one-way glass that you see, and you see your face, but actually they can see you so clearly. You know what I'm talking about? Huh? Mirrored glass, right? And the security glass or whatever. And so similarly, that person can see everything, nobody can see. So they have entered into a different dimension. And into this outer body experience, they are able to see so much more than what we can see. I, with these eyes, can see only this far. I, with these ears, can only hear so far. I, with this mouth, can only speak so loud. But in your mind, now think of it. Can you physically see your house, your home? But in your mind, you can see it right now. That's a different dimension. You can see it. Now you see your house right in front. You see the house and you're entering your house, your bedroom, your pillow. What is that? Which dimension is that? It's right there, but it's not there. It's there, but it's not there. You can see it. And this is how, when you have that outer body experience, when these people had their outer body experience, they were able to see far beyond, so clearly. Think of it as, this is the house where there is another room there, and I wouldn't know what is happening in that other room if because of these walls. But if I am able to rise up and be able to see, like this rat running in the maze, right? I can see everything. And that's how these people have experienced. And they describe that they start seeing life as a rat race, which it really is. You can see it so clearly because now you're seeing it from a vantage point, outer body experience. So coming back to this one feeling of overwhelming love, that true experience of love happens when we go into that dimension. When they describe that they met somebody, even atheists say that they've met somebody who's like God, and they come back and they totally love within to believe God. Agnostics I can understand, but people, total atheists, people who had just no concept of God, now suddenly come back with the God concept. That they feel that somebody is accepting them with unconditional love, total acceptance, total love. And you feel like you don't want to leave that space, you don't want to come back. Then they talk about mental telepathy, that they're able to talk to people far away, they're able to listen to people far away, they're able to see things far away again. Miles, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles. See, God factor, a tremendous ecstasy that can be like love, that total happiness, unlimited knowledge, wisdom.
I read a story about a woman's near-death experience, and that was one thing she meant. She said, I traveled through space and under the oceans, and as soon as I had a thought of a question, I knew the answer.
See?
Everything I wanted to know came to me.
See?
I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah. So beautiful an experience like that. Astronomy actually originated from India. You can Google it. The person who created all these constellations and all the information about galaxies, which now we are learning with Hubble telescopes and the telescopes that they send into space, he knew it through his naked eyes. How? The exact constellation. For now, many of these things they didn't know. There's this saint who has written all this. I don't remember. I'll tell you more about it. But some, huh?
With Aryabhata?
I don't know. There's somebody from the real past who has written all this, and they found those scriptures, and so now and then initially they thought like Saturn has so many moons or this rings, and actually they found that he was right and they were wrong.
Hmm.
So how would the person know about
He was there.
this? Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah. Okay, so unlimited knowledge, unlimited wisdom about life, about everything around. And then some of them were told they were not ready, so they were told to go back. And some of them came back with this tremendous healing abilities. Some were shown the future, their afterlives, and some were shown not so happy things, like what hell will be, burning and things like that. And, but there's really no hell. But it was
Because of bad karma?
bad karma, yeah. All of them showed about a tunnel, many of them talked about a tunnel, that they're passing through a tunnel and then there's light at the end, and then that light totally accepts them. And all of them, when they come back, they're told that you could be hallucinating. This is probably something that you are imagining. It's really not true. And they will all say that that experience was more real than anything that they see here. So, which is real? Which do you think would be real? Is that experience that they're having real, or what experience we are having here is real? Which is more real?
Both?
This is a physical experience.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And they say that that is real, true real, and what they're seeing here is not real. It's more real than this real. Does that make sense? So what that teaches us, if you learn from these experiences, that all that we are running after in this world, thinking that it's real, my money, my car, my house, my spouse, my children, my this, how real are they? My money, yeah, more. 401k, more. Now, how much, where? Is that really real? How real is that? Does that make sense? So Raj Yoga, what it does is gives us the ability to actually have an out of body experience. Out of body experience, OBE, on a regular basis. See?
Probably the other dimension experience.
Yeah. So it allows us to have that experience, and I use it all the time. I use it all the time. And I'll share with you my experience of how I use it in today's life. But say if you are struggling with answers, you just are not sure what should be your next step. Should I take this job or move to Australia? Should I marry this person or not? Should I invest money here or not? Or sometimes even simple things you're not able to decide. And you want clarity in life. What could be the best way to get clarity? Go into that other dimension? No? Unlimited knowledge, unlimited wisdom, unlimited clarity. Say if you're sick, very sick, nothing's working, your medicines are not really helping, you want to be healed. Where does true healing happen? Where can it happen very easily? In that other dimension, the mind dimension. That dimension. Don't you want to go there? Say if you want to be really close to somebody. They were sharing some of these stories where in that space where they went, they could see somebody with whom they had um, a bad experience with, and they were not able to forgive that person, and that person, they were able to see not just their life, the whole of life, but they were actually able to see the past of that person's life also. And they saw that why that person did what he or she did. And so in that moment they were able to totally forgive that person. And they come back and healed with total forgiveness. You see, 90% of our life is doesn't heal because of lack of forgiveness. And they're now finding in research type A, B, C personality. Type C is actually non-forgiving personality. When we hold on to things in our heart, when we don't express but we just hold on, well, that's where our illnesses happen, cancers happening, all these chronic illnesses, which we know they're psychosomatic now. Pretty much everything is psychosomatic. So how do I heal myself of these? Say, think of it. If I can go into that other dimension, in that dimension I can see my life. And I can also see the other person's life. I can see what went on, why that person did. And I can forgive that person so easily. I come back forgiven and forgiving. If I have done wrong, I experience forgiveness. I have seen wrong happening. I forgive that person. Come back healed. How does that feel? Don't you think your life will be better, healthier, a much better experience because you hold on to it? You and your child says something nice to you, Mom, will you go up? Then you snap at the child, but because of all this negativity going on, it's like this acid environment that we're creating within us. So if we can go into that dimension to forgive, to understand. There's this another person who had I had shared this video one time of this Jill Taylor or something, Jill Ball Taylor or whatever that name is, and she was a neuroscientist, and she ended with a stroke, and how she describes how when the stroke is evolving, and at that moment she had this feeling as if this layer that she has is dissolving, this hand and everything, and she's becoming one with everything around and one with everyone around, and then there's this feeling of that we are all together, and that this distance that we create with people is just non-existent. In this physical world there is distance, but in this other dimension there's no real distance. It feels that oneness, that togetherness. But do we need to have a stroke to have that real understanding? Think of it. And then she comes back and yeah, everybody, we are all together, we are all one. We don't have to hurt each other's feelings, we don't have to mess up with each other. We can just love. So now you see, you can experience that other dimension in your mind. We will do that together a little bit. You don't have to really die. You don't have to have a car accident. You don't have to have a cardiac arrest. But you can have that experience now. Experience all that peace, ecstasy, bliss, love, acceptance, forgiveness, and healing, infinite wisdom. Come back. You can create your own out-of-body near-death experience. So I do this on a regular basis, and this is what Raj Yoga teaches us. And I'm sure people who have done this for quite a while know what I'm talking about. And so if you sit in meditation, and that happens, like say somebody is really very engrossed in doing their work, it's like they're dead to everyone else, right? Somebody is talking to them, they will ignore. They don't know who came, who didn't come, or who whatever happened. They're sort of dead. They're in their own world. So in meditation, I can go into my own world, my inner world, into that dimension. And that's what I try to do. Whenever I'm really sick or something, I try that. And I find this infinite healing that happens. Within hours, I start healing. Within hours. Medicine starts working, my pain starts to go away. So many different things. And I recently actually had a surgery, and it was interesting that they gave me a medicine which I didn't want them to give, but I was full stomach and it was an emergency surgery, so they gave me that medicine. It's one of it's not really a good medicine, but it's safer medicine. It's called as ketamine. Have you heard of it? Right? And it's very interesting. I had that experience where um, I was totally conscious during the procedure. Right? I was totally conscious, but I was disconnected from my body. It was so interesting that I got this medicine. As this medicine hit me, it felt I was on my side, and it felt as if I am leaving this body like this, and suddenly I'm telescoping out, and I can see this whole thing here, and it's all distorted, and I can see people in the room, their heads connected to their pelvis. I don't see all this, and for me also, I feel as if my head is connected to my pelvis. Anyways, but then I feel this very interesting experience, as if I would say it like when you're making cake and that batter, you how there are these layers. I felt as if I am floating in these layers, but I'm stuck in these layers. So these layers are solid, sort of, and it was almost as if I want to come back to the body, but I'm not able to come back. So for a moment, it was, it felt as if it is eternity. And later, Kanisha told me it was a few minutes. I came back to him, but it seemed as if I'm floating in eternity, and it was such a scary experience. Even after these 18 years of experience, I'm honestly telling you, it was a scary experience. I knew everything that's happening. I knew that I'm here, but I'm stuck in a different dimension, and I felt as if I can't come back to the body. It's like it was almost like a feeling as if you in a labyrinth. So you're going into the labyrinth, and like those old days, those dungeons, and you're stuck in those dungeons, never to be found again. So I thought that maybe for my eternity now, yeah, I'm going to be going round and round in these layers of, I don't know, dimensions or whatever. Will I ever be able to come back to this world? So this was a very strange experience. I know people would call it hallucinations, but I, because of my this kind of experience that I have always tried to create about a body, this was something which I really can relate to. But if you see, we don't need even medicines to have that. It's very simple. If, as soon as you make that switch, the switch of consciousness from this body or the physical dimension to the soul dimension, you can experience all of these things in matter of seconds and minutes. And in this space, everything stops. They have shown it so many times in research where if you meditate for a little bit, your frontal brain becomes hyperactive, your parietal temporal brain becomes less active. And these are for time and space. And this is for higher understanding. So that becomes more active, becomes more lively, and this goes to sleep. So your time and space constrictions that you have don't apply. So the stress factor goes away. You want my space, my house. I don't want anybody coming close. That creates stress. Or this time, I don't have enough time. I want to make more, do this, do that. That also goes away. So they're finding that clearly that there's a physical manifestation of this spiritual dimension too. See? That they are finding, because science can only, physics, medicine can only understand the physical because it's a physics. Physics is physical. If there's a metaphysical science, it will understand metaphysical. This is physical science, so it understands physics. So it can only measure the physical. It measures the effect of that on the physical. It's the effect of the mind on the brain, on the soul on the brain.
Shaitank, how did you know, how did your soul know when to go back in
I don't know. It just happened. It wasn't in my control, I guess. And I guess as the anesthetic wore off, I came back. Thankfully, I was swirling in that
Did you
eternity.
see the surgery? Like, did you see?
It's not in a very distorted way. It's a very distorted way, but I felt as if I'm up above somewhere, and there are these layers that are blocking my view. But at the same time, I could see these people kind of distorted, like midgets. Midgets, what do you say, midgets? Midgets, like this head connected to the pelvis. Very strange kind of thing. But that's okay. But what I'm saying is that there is a different dimension. So I wasn't there really. I didn't experience the pain or anything like that, right? I didn't experience pain, but I knew everything was happening. So there is multiple dimensionality to our life. Clearly, I mean, I experienced that right away, just a little bit back, and I experience that all the time in meditation, anyways. So is that making sense? So far, so good. So, any questions at this time, and then we can have a transpersonal, if you want, our out of body experience. So, autoscopy, or however you want to say it, is that you are seeing um, your other self, but you are here in this body, but you're seeing your own other self. Heteroscopy, I guess, is when these are the terms that people have coined, right, in science. That when both can see each other, you feel here sometimes. An out of body experience is truly when you feel you are in that and you're seeing this body. Alright, so in Raj Yoga, you can create any of these. It's basically Raj Yoga talks about imagery. You can imagine anything. Let the child within you just go wild. You can see yourself in diving deep into the ocean, climbing up the mountain. It's up to you, right? The children say that I was sitting with Santa Claus as he went on his ride across the world, and there's the stars, that moon, and right, the children imagine that. But when we grow old, our rational mind takes over and we stop imagining. See, that's why children are so much happier, so much better off than us, because they live in that dimension. We squeeze that dimension out of them and bring them to here. No, 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 no. Life is not about happiness. Life is not about good things. Life is about bad people. You have to be careful of them, and they're going to eat you up. And right, that's what we teach them. And then they become serious like us. They become unhappy like us. And then we said, yes, we really achieved good things. We taught our children all the good things. So now, is that making sense now? Everything? We can experience that. Any questions? I want to give this, give an opportunity for others to ask questions if they want. Take a moment to really digest what we have talked about. And if it's making sense, if it's not making sense. Yeah.
When my father died, I was very close to him, and I was with him holding his hand as he passed. And when I went home that night, I woke up pretty early, probably like 4 or 5 in the morning, to a touch and a shadow, and I knew he was somehow letting me know that it's okay. That was an overwhelming feeling, but it was a physical touch. How could that be?
So we had talked about this as well another time, that even in that experience where this person goes out and tells the wife, and the wife is able to experience, hear this person telling that I'm not dead. So depending on the energy of that other person, that the person in that other dimension can communicate with this person, and we always hear about that. So you were also in a way closer in that dimension. It's like this glass. If you really go close to that security glass, you can actually see through the mirror the other side. Yeah? Have you tried it? Right? You have tried it? You know it. There's a way to know it whether it is that false mirror or a true mirror. You look it up. I know how to. I can see it and I know what it is. If it's a real mirror or. Yeah. There are multiple things to know about. There's different layers. You can see it by looking at it at an angle. You know it, and then, but if you go really close to that thing, you can see inside.
Wow.
Right? So maybe because you were experiencing that, your dad had just left. You were close in that dimension, so that's why you were able to get it. Makes sense. So if you want all the answers, if you want all the profound wisdom, the closer you are into that dimension, even if you're not completely into that dimension, the more will come to you. The closer you are, more healing will come to you. If you're totally in that, there's infinite healing. And
Your
then
soul, you mean?
yeah, and then
The
the soul,
closer your soul is.
yeah, and you are a soul, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. So if you are in that dimension, the soul dimension, truly in that, versus you are in this physical. So if you're totally in that soul dimension, there's infinite healing, infinite everything. As you keep coming out, little bit, there's less and less of it. As you're closest to this air conditioning, the cooler you are. As you go further away, it becomes less. That's the analogy. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Good, good. Anything else? Nena, you don't have any questions. You got it all.
I don't have any questions.
Just got it.
But when you finish, I have a story to tell.
Sure. No, you can share for a moment if it's not too long, and then we can go into meditation.
It's probably like 5 minutes. So
Okay.
I can do meditation.
No, you can go ahead. I mean, if you can make it a little shorter, go to the gist of it. Good.
So I had a near-death experience,
Mhm.
and at the time I didn't know that's what I experienced. But it was May 12th, 2000. It was the day my daughter was born, and so I was in labor and I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't have any injections or anything like that. I had just those electrical pads for pain. I don't know what they're called.
The midwives do that.
The
You
electrical
probably got the
pads.
midwives to take care of you.
I don't know. I had electrical pads that you stick on and
Tens.
tens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had that.
Wow.
And so I remember that close to delivery, I was in immense pain and I was kind of probably not fully conscious of everything. I was kind of like physically struggling. And then I remember that all of a sudden, like my whole world went black and I couldn't see and I couldn't hear. And so I was like, where am I? Because I couldn't feel anything. I wasn't feeling any pain. And there was no sense of time. But I was like, where am I? And then I saw this point of light in front of me and was like, oh, must be a tunnel. And then I always try to make sense of what that analytical brain. So I was trying to make sense. I was like, well, maybe I'm connecting with the babies coming out into the light. I'm seeing what the baby's seeing. And that's what I thought it was. So I came towards the light and I came out of the tunnel and it was like a huge green field and blue sky. And I remember just like closing my eyes like this and being like, oh, I can feel the sun. You know, there's this feeling of like just content and just like bliss almost. And I was like, I don't know where I am, but it's like beautiful. And then it was almost like you know how you see a book and you like this happens, like you talk about the flashes in front. It was like a book and it was like all these pages were just like flicking in front of me and I was almost saying like, I can't see them, like slow down. So I just saw these pages and
I just saw it just stopped on two faces, and one was my granddad who passed away a few years before, and one was my dad who passed away a few years before too, and I just saw their faces, and neither of them said anything, and I just remember my dad looking at me, and because like he was just a strict person, I knew that even though he wasn't saying anything, like I could tell he was telling me something. And he had a really big frown on his face. And I was thinking like, well, what? You know, and the message I received from him was, you like, why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. That's the message I received. And I was just like, you know, because I didn't come here because I chose to come here. I'm just here. So he was telling me like I shouldn't be here, like to like go back. And that's all I remember. And there's no sense of time. And in the split second, I was back in the hospital. And then my daughter was born within seconds of that. And that's all I remember. And 3 hours later, I kind of so I had a 4th degree tear, which I later found out was pretty bad. But 3 hours later, I passed out, and I woke up with drips and whatever nutrients that you feed into your arm, and I had no recollection of that part of it, but just before delivery, I had that experience.
That's very good. See, what happens is, it's interesting that all of these things are happening when the blood flow to the brain goes away, when our ability to see and hear this physical goes away. That's when we are able to really experience the other dimension. You see, I want to also share here this, there's one autistic person, right, who doesn't really understand anything, but he's one of the biggest he's gone into Guinness Book of World Records of creating these huge landscapes. Have you seen that thing? And you take him for a helicopter ride for 30 minutes over, say, Paris, and make the entire landscape of Paris with exact number of windows on each house, each building.
Yeah, the artist who do the painting.
Yeah, exact. How can you do that? So you see, this physical dimension of ours actually restricts us. So people say autistic people are so intelligent. They are not stuck in this physical dimension. We think them to be mentally retarded, but actually they are working in a different dimension. That's where the true potentiality comes into actual practical form. So this brain circulation went away for you for a little bit, probably.
That's probably what I think, because of the physical pain in my body. I think there was that moment.
Yeah. So that way you can experience the other dimension, and this is where we call this term in near-death experiences. But you can actually, what I want to come at is that you in meditation can actually induce this, where you are totally disconnected from this physical world and enter into that spiritual dimension, into that non-physical dimension, and experience all those things. The light, the tunnel.
When I'm deeper in meditation, I do see more. I don't see the tunnel, but I see like the light kind of experience.
Gotcha. So we can. No more questions? Any questions? No? No? Here, Dipti Ben, and if Dipti Ben is still here, anybody else here? Nivedita, Swati Ben, and Amit Bhai. Anybody wants to ask anything? Anybody wants to comment anything? Huh?
Thank you, Shwetan Bhai. You shared very nice experiences. Yeah, it's really helpful. Yeah, that's really good session. Yes.
All right. I'm glad you liked it. So now we can. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. A lot of information, and every Baba has been, you're talking about that Anita, who got healed, because she went out of body, and every Baba has been. That's what we are doing in our Rajdeva meditation.
Yeah. So let's do that now. Let's try it.
Lights.
Yeah, I can do it. Actually, I can. Because when we do it physically there, then it messes up the setting. Just to help induce that state. But don't get scared, it's okay. Huh? You really are not going to leave your body. Right. So the first thing is truly to relax your body. A relaxed mind can only happen in a relaxed body. So for the inexperienced, you can try to focus on your breaths. If you're already experienced, I'm sure your body will become relaxed in just a couple of seconds. So take a couple of deep breaths. Breath in. Slowly breathe out. And I like to use this visualization that with each breath out, you're kind of sinking more into the seat that you are, or chair that you're sitting in. Out. Sinking more into it. Any tension, any rigidity, any pull, all of that going away. Becoming very relaxed. And so now, see how relaxed your mind is. You didn't have to do much to relax your mind. Just relaxing your body help relax your mind. Take a few deep breaths, and with each breath, feel as if you're doubling the relaxation of your mind. That's what they do in hypnosis. They kind of quantify how much relaxation you need to have, so that it gives you that easier way to relax. So each breath, double. Next breath, double. And with the next breath, feel as if everything around you has frozen. Time and space has frozen. So whatever time it was, 7:40, 44, whatever it was, it's frozen. Nothing is moving. No car, no house, no leaves. There's no activity. Everything has come to a standstill. Total standstill. Now feel yourself leaving this body, rising above this body, and you sink your body down below, sitting on that chair. And you remember, everything is frozen. There's not even a micro moment. It's like somebody has taken a still picture. This whole world has become a still picture. You find yourself floating, and then even these walls become non-existent for you, and then you move up, further up, till you start seeing more of the city, and you see everything is frozen. People frozen in mid-stride, cars frozen at the intersection, bird frozen just before it's about to land. Everything is frozen. Total standstill. So what you're seeing right now is a still picture of this physical world. And feel as if you're reaching out to it and tearing it apart. The entire physical world, which includes your body, your relationships, your possessions, all that you have ever seen, all that you have ever heard, all that you have ever done. You're tearing it apart with one swift movement, and what you see beyond is just gentle, golden red light. And that space in the picture through which you are peering is like the tunnel. You float through this tunnel, through that picture, or the tunnel that was created in that picture, into this dimension filled with golden red light. And in this space, there's nothing physical. There's no body, no car, no houses, no trees, no solar system, no galaxies. And you look back, you still see that other picture that you tore through that picture, you remember? And everything is frozen. That physical world is frozen in time and space. And now, in this dimension, you experience eternity. In this dimension, you see a light that's profound in its brightness, yet the gentlest you've ever seen. That's God. And as you come closer to that light, you experience unconditional acceptance. Love that goes beyond anything you have ever imagined. As if that light was waiting just for you. As if it's just you that exists, and you that matters. That energy is totally into you, and you totally into that light. see everything clearly. Whatever questions you have, you're receiving answers to them spontaneously. It's not that you have to ask for answers. It's not that you're looking for answers. You have a question, and before the question ends up with, hence, there's an answer right there, and you have the answer. And in this dimension, you can see your past, you can see your future, and you can see the present. All three at the same time, as if it's all happening now. Everything is right here, right now. It's not that past has already happened or future will happen. It's like past is happening now and the future is happening now too. Tremendous insight is what you're experiencing now. Just by knowing the past, knowing the future, of not just of you, but of the entire universe and every being on this planet. That's infinite wisdom. You know exactly why everything is happening. The deepest, most profound insights coming to you. And because of that, you now experience infinite forgiveness, infinite love for everyone, infinite connectedness to everyone. Infinite healing. Everything that you want to heal is healing spontaneously right now, right here in this dimension. You don't want to come back. Who would like to come back from something so profound? Total love, total acceptance, total healing, infinite understanding, infinite creativity, infinite potentiality. You can be anything and anyone you want in this space. So what would you like to be? 100% peaceful, kind, generous, loving, accepting, respectful, empathetic, compassionate person, creative person, healed person. This is the space of infinite possibilities. You can be whoever you want in this space. bring this possibility that you have created for yourself. Hold on to it tight and then float through that hole that you created, that big ripped up space in the picture, and come out. Now you go as if you're going into that picture, but not into that hole, but into the picture. And you begin to see the stars and the galaxies and the houses and the trees and this house, this space, and your body. And you come back. Slowly float back into your body. And you can bring the three-dimensionality back into your awareness. And even the fourth dimension of time. But as you enter into this body, feel that infinite potentiality that you experience there is beginning to do its magic here right now. Infinite creativity, infinite respect, infinite love, infinite kindness happening right now. You experience that right now. As you, if you had closed your eyes, open them and see now this whole world is beginning to move. Your head, you can move it, your hands, you can move, and see that everything now is not frozen. Cars have started moving, traffic lights turning red, green, people walking, birds flying. But now, this infinite potentiality that's being expressed by you into this physical world. And everything is transforming to the way you want it. You're seeing just love flowing out of you, unconditional acceptance and respect for all human beings. Whatever their culture, whatever their color, whatever their looks, whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter. But pure love flowing out of you, pure healing energy flowing out of you into your body and into everything around you, healing you, healing everyone around you. Om Shanti.
Change.
Thank you, Sitaram, by Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Shaitan.
Forgot to switch on the slide and forgot to do that. Anyways, I think everybody had such a great experience that they don't want to say anything. Right? this call now?
हाँ जी
You can end your recording. Normally we would have, if Kanishta is here, we would to offer something to offer, but I have some grapes